unless they're recently filled.
I don't know.
No, you have to dig. Well, it depends on where you are to dig to get to water. Depends on how far you are from water.
You got to dig down to the ocean in the center of the planet.
Yep, you got to get, because most people don't realize this. You're actually supposed to be drinking liquid hot magma from the core of the Earth. But
it's science. It makes you stronger.
Yeah.
And you gotta dig around the mole people and stuff. So.
Where's Will?
Stuff.
Oh shit! Yeah, where is he?
He's right there.
Hiding behind the microphone.
Oh. Let me move my square so I can see those beautiful juicy lips of yours.
Here, wait. I'm gonna try to get my dick fingers as close as I can.
Perfect. Your what?
My dick finger.
Dick finger.
Dick finger.
There we go. That's the right tune. And welcome to the Downer Front Podcast, Halloween Beer Boner Spectacular. Happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween.
Very.
Spooky, scary skeletons.
So glad to be here. We've got a really cool episode lined up for you guys tonight. First off, though, I want to start off by saying that we have a very special guest with us joining us on the podcast today. He had listened in on some of our earlier Fear Boners episodes and got connected with us over a love of horror. I'd like to introduce everybody to the doctor himself from Wicked Good Gaming's Not Another Gaming Podcast, Dr. Bob. How's it going, my dude?
I am doing great. Now I'm doing great. You know, I was a little upset earlier, but now I'm doing a lot better. That was a fucking fantastic introduction.
Oh, thank you very much, man. Thank you. I felt inspired by the film Jigsaw.
Yeah, I'm not inspired by it. I wanted to go home and just, cancel the rest of my day after that fucking piece of shit. I mean, we can talk about it on the podcast.
Absolutely. Well, we're so glad to have you with us, man. I know that through talking with you about the Fear Boners episodes that you have a pretty encyclopedic knowledge of fucking horror, everything from campy to really, terrifying. So, yeah, glad to have you on.
And, it's kind of sad because my two colleagues from Wicked Good Gaming, Dom and Chris, are the two biggest pussies on the planet, and they won't do anything that involves anything scary, and that's all I do is watch horror movies and play scary video games. So
that's actually interesting to hear, because as far as I'm aware, I have heard that there's a Bram Stoker's Dracula reboot coming out, starring Dom, and so it surprised me that he would even be scared at all.
Wait, do you mean they're rebooting Nosferatu again?
Dom's Ferratu.
Yeah.
He just plays a bat. He's like a little bat flying around in the background.
He's gonna Dom dead and loving it.
Forehead out his face the whole time.
Oh, man. Awesome. Well, it's good to have you on. Glad to finally bridge this gap.
Glad to be here. Thank you. Thank you for having me, guys.
Yeah,
sounds good. You're arguably one of the funniest people on that podcast.
Out of the three of us?
Ooh.
That's correct.
I think Warren's trying to book a cage match.
Yeah, you got to watch how he's an instigator. And that voice that just came through, if it sounded familiar, ladies and gentlemen, that's the silky smooth voice of the host of the actual Fear Boners show with Down in Front. Welcome, everybody. Andrew Abbott.
That's me. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for appreciating my boners, the scary boners that I've been providing for everybody all month. I really appreciate it. Thanks for listening. And I'm excited to talk about this hunk of shit of a movie tonight.
Yeah. You took us on a journey with Fear Boners, and I think this is suitable apex, but it's something.
Not for nothing, Fear Boners is the most perfect title for anything horror in the month of October. That is the perfect title.
Thank you. It came to me in my sleep. Both literally.
Honestly, look, that's not a condition. It happens to me all the time.
That's brilliant.
Oh, amazing. Just south of Mr. Abbott, we've got the mouth of the South, El Boca del Sur, Strong Bryland himself. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, how's it going this evening?
Doing very well, very well. Glad to have you on here to share your feelings about this movie, which I hear has Oscar buzz going on right now.
I enjoyed
Probably
this
got some guy named Oscar.
That I decided not to drink any alcohol tonight. Usually you'd think you'd have to drink a lot after something like this, but you know what? I want to feel cleansed.
Yeah, you got
this.
You got to
I'm just sticking to water tonight. That's all I'm going to be drinking.
Oh, man. Holy water. Be blessed. All right, Warren, up over here, the host of Down in Front Podcast, the man with the voice that you all know and love. How you doing, buddy?
I am doing amazing. Thanks for having me on. I'm super pumped, super excited to have Abbott and have Rob on this kind of Fear Boners kind of special. Just super excited to talk about this movie and how much we all disliked it. And the fact that there was a little 5-year-old kid sitting behind me in this movie. It was...
Can confirm.
Of course, our resident beard in training, Michael Blewett. How you doing, the Shredder?
Is that based on what the other meaning of beard is?
It's both. Sure.
Because, yes, that's completely me. I'm not too bad at all. In fact, I'm rather cheery because I did not watch this movie today. I watched it a couple days ago.
Oh, okay. So you've had time to deal with
Time in between.
Yeah. It was...
Been able to go through the 5 stages of loss.
It wasn't even... Yeah. For my, $13. I was going to say, I'm just having myself a nice glass of tea, again, because Jesse Rand is not here to have non-adult beverages, and I got to take up his mantle. I got to fight for Rand. Hashtag.
Yeah, you and Brown are really riding the straight edge train today. Yeah. Awesome. And I am Mocha Mike. I'm going to be handing her up to Warren in a moment to take us on this journey through the movie Jigsaw. But first, I wanted to pose a question to everybody in the room tonight. First of all, if you hadn't said it yet, what are you drinking tonight, as always? But also, in spirit of the holiday, if you had to experience a subgenre of a horror movie, actually go through the experience, whether you live or die, what genre would it be? Let's start with special guest Rob.
Ooh, this is good. Wait, so you want me to say what I'm drinking right now?
Yeah, let us know what you're drinking.
Okay.
I assume you're drinking something since you are a professional degenerate.
Oh, yeah, that's me. So I was sick all week, so I have a glass of Gatorade, but I'm also an alcoholic, so I have a Miller Lite Pounder, because I can't control myself sometimes.
Does that count as a hot toddy if you pour the Miller Lite into your Gatorade?
I don't want to find out. I don't want to know what that tastes like. You know what? Fine, I'll do it.
Do it.
Oh, man.
Here he goes.
Oh, man.
Yeah, both in the mouth at the same time.
I was hoping for more of a sake bomb effect, but okay.
Oh man.
Back to the beer. Oh, okay.
Ooh, got a little
Yeah,
sandwich.
don't do it. Yeah, not worth it.
Next time, hold it in your mouth and slush it around so you get the entire flavor profile.
That's a horrible idea. Again, don't do it. So genre, I want to get even more specific than that besides genre, because Cabin in the Woods is kind of what I want to do. But when I say Cabin in the Woods, I want to be super specific when I say The Evil Dead. And I want to experience Evil Dead 2, and I want to be not the lone survivor, but I want to be with Ash after all of it goes down, and then we both get transported into Army of the Darkness, and then we both go into Ash vs. Evil Dead, and I'm just hanging out with fucking Bruce Campbell all the time because I want him to adopt me.
Yes. That would be dope.
Always try to impress him so he'll take you home.
Yeah, that's all I want. I want him to be my uncle.
Creepy Uncle Bruce.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I can see it. You and Bruce Campbell in the woods, growing your beards and fighting zombies or fighting monsters.
Oh, yeah.
Abbott, what about yourself?
Well, you kind of pitched this, and I've been thinking about it, and I realized that what my idea was, and I will go through step by step my idea, but I realized that basically what it was almost a porno. But bear with me. One of my favorite genres in horror is the found footage. Movie. I want it to be a found footage movie, a la Zombie Strippers, but I want it to be really sexy ghost women are chasing me around. I think that would be really cool.
Are we talking ghost women who have legs, or ghost women who are just trailing dresses?
Oh, like floating mermaids?
Sorta, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I like how this is developing. It's gonna be sexy mermaid ghosts. So they're ghosts of mermaids that somehow wound up on land that are chasing me around, and I just so happen to have my camera at the time. And this movie's gonna set the record for the most amount of boobs in a movie, but it's gonna be terrifying.
And they're all gonna be see-through.
Yes.
You're gonna get a ghost hand job.
Oh man, awesome. Well, good choice. The Shredder, How about yourself? What would be your genre that you would experience?
I think I'd go with like one of those psychological horror movies because I'm not very perceptive, and so I don't think it would faze me that well. Like a slasher would be brutal if people get ripped apart, but usually in like those thrillers, there's not a lot of death, and it's usually just based on like creepiness of circumstance, which would have no effect. I'm like a
superpower would be that you're too dense to actually understand that you're being psychologically terrorized.
Exactly. It's like it'd be like a Sandshrew using like that blinding one against a bird Pokemon. I'm just flying up in the clouds.
Nice. All right. Brylan, how about yourself? What I'm thinking Texas Chainsaw Massacre for you, but why don't you tell me what your thoughts are?
Well, I was thinking about it, like, probably the easiest one for me to get through would be like a zombie movie like Night of the Living Dead or anything, just because I think zombies are lame. I mean, they're definitely struggling to move around, and you can easily get away from them and find a weapon to kill them. So that's too easy. So I was thinking more of like the space horror genre, like you would see back in the 70s and stuff. One, usually very hot babes, like in Life Force, hot space vampires. Or there was like back in the early 80s, there was this space horror film with Walter Koenig in it. I think it was called like Moonscape or some crazy shit like that.
Yeah.
And all he had to do was beat up a giant robot. And I think I could take on a robot compared to any other supernatural creature.
Nice. I can see it. We don't call you Strong Brylan for nothing. Awesome. Warren, how about yourself?
Yeah, right now I'm actually currently drinking a red wine called Rock Steady red wine from Prima Prisa. It's pretty solid. Pretty solid.
Drinking right from the bottle.
Well, I mean, you gotta stay classy.
That's right. I like your style. That's right.
For those listeners at home who can't see Warren's shame.
Sure. So I think to mix it up a little bit, horror is not like my favorite genre. So if I have to be in there, I'll probably just be angry all the time. So I'll probably will be the murderer or the killer. So something like Friday 13th or Freddy Krueger, I will be like the person killing people because they're just stupid. Especially when Friday the 13th, when he punches a guy's head off with an uppercut. That was a or something like that. That right there was absolute classic. So, I mean, I will definitely be Jason. Even when Jason goes to space. That movie didn't make any sense, but yet it was still hilarious.
That is,
Freddy Krueger punches a head off, too, in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Does he? Oh,
yeah.
Probably.
He punches a head fucking clean off.
Damn.
Freddy Krueger gave me so many nightmares. I think back to back I watched It, Freddy Krueger, Evil Dead 2, and I had so many nightmares. And also Thinner, Stephen King.
That's a great 12th birthday.
My mom's like, you're fucking done. You're not watching any more of these movies. Way too young.
Yeah. I forgot the other space horror movie that's really good, Leprechaun in Space.
Oh my god.
Nowhere near as good as Leprechaun in the Hood, though.
He went to the Hood twice. He went to the Hood twice, and then he was on the moon, and then he's going to go back to the Hood on the moon, and Jennifer Aniston's going to come back. It's going to be a reunion. It'll be great.
I distinctly remember the scene where the princess in the Leprechaun, when he's in space, when he does the image of her to try to trick them, and she just takes her fucking tits out. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this movie bonus points.
Yep, there you go.
That's how you dispel any magic is some bomb titties. That's all it takes.
Dump them out. Dump them out, save a life. And I am drinking, I want to keep it dark tonight since we're trying to go with a scary theme, so I'm drinking a Dark Horse Pinot Noir.
Nice.
Dark Horse is an interesting brand. Super cheap, which means I'm really into it. I don't know how I feel about Pinot Noirs in general. Might not be my thing, but we'll see. I'll develop a palate for it, I'm sure. As
much as you drink this podcast, we'll see.
Yeah, right. And as far as a genre I would want to be in, I have to go with vampires. Some sort of vampire movie, and here's the reason why. Any other horror genre, when you die or get caught by the villain, you just straight up die and you have a bad time. With vampires, there's like a 20% chance that you become a vampire too, and if that happens, then that's just non-stop fucking and partying from then on. Like
blood orgies all the time.
Hell yes.
Would you survive on people? Or would you survive on rats, or what would you survive on?
Ooh, I'd survive on people who jilted me in the past, for sure.
Oh, good call. You're like a vampire punisher.
Vampire.
Would you say you would be a vampire that sticks to old traditions, or would you be a modern vampire that listens to late 90s techno?
Oh my god, are you kidding me? If I get to live forever, I'm never going to stop doing new things. I'm always going to be like, oh, cool, like, fucking, we can get, like, flying cars and shit. Yeah, let me go through that. Not going to stick listening to, like, riding my bicycle, trying to hunt people down.
Did vampires...
Oh, Mike's this Twilight phase right now.
I never got, like...
Tinder, just like swiping all these people, like, oh yeah.
Do they fuck in Twilight? Like, I know, like, the main characters fuck, but, like, are they, like, fucking vampires? Like, the super sexy ones? Or are they just murder vampires?
In Twilight, I think everybody fucks in that movie.
Alright, cool.
Oh my god, Warren, you brought up a perfect fucking plot for a modern-day vampire movie. How easy could it be for a vampire nowadays, with every dating app imaginable, to just swipe?
Oh, that person looks like they're full of blood.
Oh, that I get to hang out. Fine, I'm just going to eat her tonight.
Yo, you heard it here first. If you're listening to this podcast, you can't take that idea. It is officially trademarked. That is
the first down in front podcast movie.
Down in front at Wicked Good Gaming, YouTube Red short. Oh man, awesome. Well, cool. Yeah, I'm glad you guys all have something in mind. Horror movies are like a genre that I've loved growing up. I know a lot of us have too. So I'm excited to just do an episode themed towards that in general. But yeah, with that, I'm going to pass it to the host with the most, Warren Jackson, to tell us a little bit about Jigsaw and lead us into this.
I just thought of the tagline: "Eternal life is just a swipe away." I think
Wait,
that movie.
Did you say swipe or wipe?
A swipe. Okay.
Oh, okay.
A swipe.
Put it on a t-shirt. I love it.
Dude, that also works for like
Yeah.
religious evangelists on Tinder can use that too. Eternal life is to swipe away. Swipe right on God. Oh man.
And we are super pumped. So this movie, like we're excited to talk about Jigsaw. We wanted to kind of finish off this month our Fear Boners episode, with the entire crew of the Down Front podcast, also with Rob from the Wicked Good Gaming podcast, and just do like this mashup, just have a lot of fun. We actually wanted to finally review a scary movie because I don't think the last scary movie I think we reviewed was Get Out, and that was not really a horror genre. So this is arguably the first scary movie we've seen and actually reviewed in a very long time. I think that was pretty good. So, I mean, I'll go back and check the notes. But I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about this, especially to the point where, this movie Jigsaw seemingly came out of nowhere. I have a couple directors of Michael Spurag and Peter Spurag. They're kind of brothers. Looking at their actual sort of credits, they haven't really been known for doing too much stuff, and this looks like they're kind of the first big sort of breakout. So yeah, we're excited to talk about this movie, this Jigsaw. We're going to take a quick break and give you a small intermission while we go refill our drinks. And we will come back to Down Front Podcast with a special episode of Fear Boners featuring our special guest, Rob from Wicked Good Games, Dr. Bob. And we'll see you soon.
Medicine.
R.I.P. Gone but never forgotten.
Right.
Pour one out.
Are back. And thank you for hanging out with us. We're all ready to go. We are refilled in all of our glorious things that we are drinking. As we're going to be talking about our in-depth review of Jigsaw. This is the too many movies in the franchise. It doesn't matter how many movies of the franchise this is. So let's actually talk about some wins. We're going to get into some criticisms and things that just didn't quite work. I'm going to toss it over to Abbott here. And Abbott, you can start with what's some of your wins that you have for Jigsaw?
So some of the wins were definitely there were still some over-the-top gore, like the bucket guy's half head was pretty cool. That was really well done. The human blender was pretty cool. The gore was pretty fantastic. Like leading up until the end of the film, the head flower laser extravaganza, like you'd expect it to be like a Led Zeppelin like laser show at the aquarium or something, but it was just that dude's head blooming, and it was like amazing. It's a good way to end a movie because then you're just like, okay, great, I can get up and leave. But at the same time, I think it's a great accomplishment for a film to come out after a previous film, which was entitled The Final Chapter. I think that's pretty impressive for any film franchise, honestly. But it did, like, there were parts of the film that did harken back to the original, which was kind of what it was leading up to, is like being like, this is kind of like a prequel leading into the first movie and whatever. But I don't have a ton of wins. The only other win I can think of is not even necessarily related to the movie, but they were able to bring back the Saw blood drive. I mentioned that earlier to you guys. It's actually one of those things they do internationally. They do a lot of efforts here in the U.S., but over in Europe too, and it's one of the things that gets the most people to come out and donate blood, which is actually super important. So that's kind of cool. People get like free tickets and shit like that, so they promote it really, really well, and I think that's cool. But besides that, this movie was struggle to get through.
Which is to say a lot, considering you just have to sit there and let it happen.
Or if you see it in fucking 4D, you have to literally hold on to railings as your roller coaster seats are fucking throwing you around the whole time.
I have no idea why they do that.
Just
Like,
rock your balls.
it's Saw. It's not even like it's not even like Avatar or something crazy. It's Saw. It's not like, why suspend you?
Yeah,
I had to sit there with my asshole clenched the entire time, because you know how in massage chairs they have the things that like punch your back. These things came out of nowhere at random times, just bang right to my lower back, right to the lumbar,
right to the kidney.
And then one would come up like bang, asshole punch, and I didn't want any of that.
Oh man.
So hold on, Dr. Bob. What made you think that 4D would be a good idea to watch this movie?
There was no thought process here. I dragged my cousin to come see this with me because she was in the area, and I was like, you know what? I gotta go see Jigsaw. You're gonna endure this bullshit with me. Let's go. And she ended up being late, so we missed the earlier show, and we get there, and it was like, yeah, so we have a show at 2:55 and then 4:30. Oh, that's convenient. I guess I'll just take the 2:55 ones then. Thank you. Oh, $20 a ticket? All right, fine. Here, take my $20. Oh, I have to buckle myself into a fucking roller coaster seat now? And I'm getting sprayed with water and getting punched in my asshole the whole time? Yeah, sure. I'm going to enjoy the shit out of this movie.
Yo, was it one of those seats that has the pull-down bars that always click one more than you want it to, and then you're stuck there for an hour and a half?
And you can't breathe? No, it wasn't that. Thank God it wasn't that. Whose stupid mind comes up with something like that? Like, yeah, you know what? People want to be interactive in a movie theater. No, you want to sit down, and you don't want people to bother you, and you want the people around you to shut up, and you just want to watch a giant screen.
Yo, I need to say this. As far as 4D goes, like, that's a cool enough idea as it is. I don't want to see new movies in 4D, but I am down to watch some 4D remastered classics. Like, if you want to put me in a theater and put on, like, Hotel Rwanda in 4D, I'm down for that.
You know what? I want to watch The Diary of Anne Frank in 4D.
Oh.
Yeah, Schindler's List in 4D. It's almost 2018. We're going to have 5Ds by that point.
Oh,
You can smell the poop.
Oh, God.
So I'm going to toss it over. Continue with the wins. Dr. Bob, I called you out. What are some wins that you have for Jigsaw?
What? There's wins in this movie? What?
Maybe?
Honestly, like, the only thing I actually kind of enjoyed was the scene where he brings up to the guy who sold the motorcycle. He was like, yeah, that was my nephew. and you totally sold him a faulty bike and the brakes were cut and you're a piece of shit, so now you're going to go into my blender. And then at that point, you just immediately know, yeah, this guy doesn't stand a fucking chance. There's no way this guy is going to survive a blender after he killed his nephew. And that's it. That's all I got. There's nothing else I can put towards this movie. And I don't want to pin it on the fact that I had to see it in 4D. It was definitely an addition, or rather a subtraction, from what I wanted from this movie. But, like, in any other circumstance or scenario, if they paid me to watch this movie, I still wouldn't have enjoyed this movie.
What if you got like a free jigsaw? Like you actually got like a tool. Like it was sponsored by Home Depot, and you got a jigsaw to go to see this movie.
No, hard pass. Keep it. Keep all of it. I don't want it.
Toss it over, Mocha. Some wins did you have for Jigsaw?
Yeah, I gotta echo some of the sentiment of Dr. Bob, aka Biceps MD. This movie did not have a lot going on for it. As that we could really talk about as like huge wins. I will say though that I appreciated the fact that it tried to connect to the original in a lot of different ways. There were plenty of little Easter eggs here and there, as well as direct references. There's an entire scene where we got to take a museum tour of Jigsaw's greatest hits and see his different torture devices. And it was just a nice reminder that this is a series that has like a long-standing history with a whole lot of different ways that people have died over the years. And it seemed like this was more of a bridge into the next version of what the franchise is going to be. So it's cool that they kind of gave like a Viking funeral to what the film series was before moving on. The other big pro for this is that, if they are going to go ahead and continue with these Saw movies, at least they're making it clear that they're hopefully moving into a new era. Like, there's no franchise whatsoever that should have 8 or more sequels to it, with maybe the exception of Fast and the Furious. But nothing else should have numerical sequels. James Bond is all different stories. But yeah. Also,
Land Before Time.
He just completely shot that down right there. Land Before Time. Give me another 25 of them.
Fair enough. So, okay. Exception to the rule. But that being said, if they're going to go to fucking Saw 9 through 13 over the next 5 years, at least they've got a new bad guy in there, or at least they've got a new, approach to it. And hopefully they'll try to do something with that, but I don't know. Doubtful.
All right, cool. Mouth of the South, Rylan, what some wins do you have for Jigsaw?
Some wins for me going to the movie theater today. There was a cool trailer for Insidious, The Final Key, that looked pretty sick. There's also a trailer for a movie that's only being shown on Halloween at 10 p.m. called Keep Watching. That's the only time you'll get to see it. It looked interesting, almost like an army of cameras are terrorizing a family. So that might be more interesting than this movie I saw.
That one's only on Halloween?
Yeah, only on Halloween.
Really? That looked kind of cool.
So isn't Jeepers Creepers 3, actually? Jeepers Creepers 3 is only coming out for one day in theaters.
Why are those still being made?
Who knows?
Well, so I guess
I don't know, actually.
It makes sense. I guess you could get
First one was pretty neat.
You could get like a Netflix level movie and just pop it in theaters, for a single day, and then just immediately get it on digital platforms. Like, I wonder if that Keep Watching is going to show up on Amazon Prime like November 5th. That's kind of an interesting strategy. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it works.
No, seriously, yeah.
I would also say, I liked how cheesy the Twisted Pictures logo looked before the movie started. I thought I was about to watch someone's playthrough of Night Trap on Sega CD or something. So I was getting ready for that level of cheesiness.
I love that logo.
Yeah.
Great video game reference. I didn't know this was a video game podcast.
Oh, we got some game love here.
We were asked very politely by one of your co-hosts, Don Mahoney, to stay in our lane. Apparently,
he drew a line in the sand. All right, so when the war happens, know that it started there.
Hey, look, I'll be neutral on all parts. You guys can all fight each other. I'll fucking sit there and I'll wait, and then when everyone dies, I'll just pick them both up. I'll do the down in front Wicked Good Gaming podcast.
Thank God. I don't think anyone
good
wants to go toe-to-toe with fucking regular click game.
But yeah, I think that's about my wins for this movie.
We're going on a speed run.
The trailers are really great.
A couple of great trailers and the opening, the twist.
Pretty much, yeah.
How was the popcorn, Brian?
I don't eat popcorn.
Oh, okay. Fair.
No.
I mean,
So the
popcorn.
nachos.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Popcorn,
Good
yeah.
nachos.
So
Do you eat corn on the cob while you're at the movie theaters? Just like buttery corn on the cob, chopping down on that, nice and juicy.
No, nachos, but also what I've been usually getting now are the pretzel bites and some nacho cheese. That's awesome.
That sounds good. All right. Well, thank you for telling me about the wins of Jigsaw. Brenner, what about you? What are some wins you have for Jigsaw going in after you watching the movie?
Yeah, so a couple things. Like Mocha had said, I think this movie served as a very useful bridge. No one really asked for the Saw movies to get brought back. I think that we all look fondly on the first and second one and then kind of lose interest after that. That being said, I feel like it's very hard for a series to pick up where it left off and be continuous and also introduce new characters that enter a new generation. Even something like Star Wars, the prequels, where they had existing IP there, and like Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin, and they still royally messed that all up. So I thought it was did a good job of bridging through that and paying homage to the old ones while setting up the bounds for the new ones. Clearly this trap that he set for in the very end for what was it, Halloran or whatever. That was straight up just a kill trap. There was nothing about that could win that game. Which we also got that sweet Resident Evil undoing of their head. That was pretty cool. I saw one of your things about the traps. They kind of looked like they were in evolution. Some of them were kind of stupid, but at the same time, they were a decade before the traps that we knew and loved in the first one. One thing I'll say, I liked the back and forth. I mean, speaking of Cube, I feel like every one of these trapped in a room type horror movies always has that one hothead character. They always have the smarter than average chick. They always have this not quite alpha male, but kind of in shape too. They all have the same tropes. What the Saw franchise really does is it pushes people to talk to each other. The best scenes in those weren't the torture porn scenes. They were there and they were shocking, but they were the scenes where they were sitting there talking about, hey, how do we end up in this mess? And do I really have to cut my leg off? And you start to see that slow desperation build rather than having a serial killer come after you. It's another inevitability that's encroaching on you. And I thought the scenes of them going through the house and slowly learning who they were and why they might be involved was pretty solid. I mean, nothing stood out in the acting, or writing. It wasn't amazing, but it was good to go back to that it wasn't purely just all guts and boobs. There was some of that, but it's at the same time, of course. But there was that dialogue that really pushed that human connection through. As far as anything analytical, because I feel like that's the only analytical thing that people are going to say, they played the Black Panther trailer before mine, and I love that. One thing I would like to see, and I think I pointed this out, that these movies try and always up their game. The first one had not a ton of kills and had that big twist, and now the second one had to have a house full of people that all got killed in a ridiculous way, and it just keeps on upping and upping and upping and upping the ante. I would love if they continue doing these to slow down and maybe not have such wild traps. And really just focus in on the people and their connection to each other and to the bad guy with that. I thought that realistically the traps being kind of dumb. Like, I know Warren's going to talk about the grain one. That was fine. Like, they didn't all have to be like super over the top, ridiculous. Like, you have to push this button and then this button also shoots out like a little puppet at me. Like, no, you could have it be just simple and stupid but effective. That's about it. I don't even know if that was a win at the end. It's just like more of just like a, hey, if you keep on making these, this is what you should think about. But it was kind of there.
Sure. Okay, yeah. I mean, I'll go into, I guess, I don't know. I guess one of the wins that I have, now that I think about it a little bit, is I think that they were definitely trying to be cheesy. I think even like the coroner, like assistant, was like, oh, hey, we need to take him down. We can't call the cops because Holleran's in it. So we need to take the serial killer down by ourselves. And, the guy goes, well, what are we going to take him down with? With this. And pulls this really large revolver out of nowhere. And I'm like,
Bitch, where the fuck have you been keeping that this whole time? Where the fuck has that been?
Bugs Bunny bang fucking handgun.
Was that gun from Trap? Right? I think that gun was from the trap that she had from before, which she launched it off. But anyway, like, as an actress, she was pretty terrible throughout the entire movie. Anyways, wins. Right, sorry. Talking about wins. For some reason, though, it still was interesting to watch this movie. And I still think that, they did at least try to do some stuff that was interesting from the first and the second one, and especially how the movie kind of started. It started with the movie just kind of started, and you have this guy that says, hey, I need to start this game, and we're not entirely sure why, and he like ends up starting it. And then you got these people like getting in drag with a freaking bucket on their head, and it was like, I need a blood sacrifice sort of thing. Like, that was a pretty cool way to kind of start it, because you're like, what's happening here? So I thought that was at least entertaining and interesting to watch. And I like the twist, the fact that, all these flashbacks and things that we're seeing actually happened 10 years ago. And so we have like two simultaneous stories happening right now. Something that's happening in the beginning and something that's happening 10 years ago, and both plots are actually progressing at the same time. And they didn't they did a pretty good job masking that as much as possible up until near the end. And I thought that was at least interesting to see, like, oh, you guys got me for a little bit. Good job there. So I thought that was pretty cool. I don't watch trailers, so I took it. Actually, I ate my McDonald's breakfast that I smuggled in. So that was delicious. And I listened to a soundtrack in the trailer. So thank you.
They did something very similar in Saw 2, where they had like the time delay in the videos that they were watching live. I think it was a time delay of like a week or some shit like that. And then they found the detective's son in the safe or something like that. I can't remember exactly how it went, but they kept the son in the safe. But everything happened a week before. They were watching everything live, and then they raided the house, and guess what? It was fucking empty.
Yeah.
Except this was a little more extended by 10 whole years. But
It's that's surprising. You can't just redo again, but say this time it was longer. Like, it just loses so much impact. But yeah, that was a great one in the series.
Okay. So I'm glad that we at least have some wins. I know that we're not a podcast and we're not like a group that likes to just shout on a movie for nothing. So I'm glad we got some stuff. But let's get into some criticism. Let's get into some things that, just didn't quite work. And I'm going to start off with Mocha here first, and says, Mocha, what's some things that just didn't quite work here?
Man. So, I think everyone can agree on this, but the movie itself just didn't work. Like, at all.
Well, let's say this. I think it's kind of hard to... do any sort of critical analysis on such a mindless movie. Like when we talk about The Foreigner, where The Foreigner had nothing really happen, but it was still a movie that was supposed to make you think. Jigsaw, like, literally is just a turn your brain off and let things happen. I found it hard to have pros and cons in any sort of critical fashion, because it's not a genre built for that.
Yeah.
I mean, from The Foreigner versus Jigsaw.
Yeah, I mean, we can confirm that there is a plot in Jigsaw.
was there? Can we confirm that?
Yeah, I don't even think I'd go there.
I'm still convinced that the true plot of the movie Jigsaw was that you were in the theater watching it.
Right. And they were filming on reactions the whole time for Jigsaw 2, which is actually Saw 9, which is actually 7 movies we didn't need. 7 additional movies we never needed.
I don't know about you guys, but I got a thank you letter in the mail for actually buying a ticket to that movie from the production company.
Didn't have like a piece of flesh to do.
God, thank you. We can eat.
Oh man. Yeah, honestly, if we're looking at it from that lens, this is probably going to be less of a list of like cons from all of us and more of just like a roasting session. But no. So all right, let's just like go big picture here. Hilariously bad writing for every character involved. So much of it was just nonsense. Whether it was like the plot itself, also a lot of the dialogue. I mentioned earlier that super cringeworthy moment where the girl's like "Jig fucking saw," or the fact that the dark web fan site, which they had to do a deep web IP drop or whatever they called it, was called jigsawrules.com. Like really,
It was actually jigsawrules.com.
Yeah, it was a GeoCities website. Like the cursor dripped blood while you like hovered over everything.
I need to fucking download Tor and go on to freaking dark web just to go to type in the words jigsawrules.com. That's some nonsense. But yeah, it was bad writing all throughout, which was hilarious for me to watch. Though I think it was interesting that a lot of the scenes in the movie, at least in the theater I saw it in, got a ton of positive reactions from the crowd. People were jumping. People were literally gasping. I'm pretty sure a woman behind me started crying.
Was that because you were dropping?
I mean, honestly, it was a dark movie theater. It could have been a number of things, but she was like whimpering a lot. Maybe I should have turned around. I don't know. Anyway.
She might have been going through like a divorce or something. Might have been completely unrelated to the movie.
Her and her husband are sitting there and they're like, we've got nothing better to do for the next hour and a half. Let's talk about our marriage. Less scary than this
film. So much going on these days. There's a lot of stuff.
Oh man. But word, like it was interesting because it seemed almost like they were trying to do a really good parody of themselves, but they had no sense of like self-awareness whatsoever. Like this is a movie that tried. Somebody tried on this film, and that's I think the saddest thing about all of it. Shout out to the directors. Keep doing your thing. You'll get there someday. As I say from my chair, having no director experience. And yeah, there were just a lot of like effects that were kind of goofy in general. One that made me laugh out loud in the theater was when we're in the silo scene, where 2 of our protagonists are trapped in a silo that is rapidly filling with grain. Everyone's worst nightmare. And the grain finally stops. And you think, oh,
I hope they're not. I hope they don't have a gluten allergy.
That would have been 10 times better. Oh my god, that would have been 10 times better.
I don't
think
about your celiac
just started to clog up.
I don't think gluten allergies existed 10 years ago.
You get too much gluten in your system.
But no, yeah. So like the grain stops falling, and we think that for a moment our heroes might have answered the right question and they'll get away. But then no, they start sliding kitchen cutlery like through the grain vents that are landing with this like, feigned sense of danger.
I was waiting for like an ice cream scoop to fall down.
Or a frying pan. Just a frying pan to the face.
Mocha, that was like I think Abbott was sitting right next to me at this point. I started laughing so hard at that moment. I was like, that is the dumbest thing.
Yeah, there was a part where 3 just fucking drywall nails, slid off the ramp and like landed and pierced her like halfway through. And it's like, you have any idea the kind of force you have to shoot that thing out with? Let alone this thing gently rolling off of a ramp and falling onto a pile of grain. Oh man. But yeah, some of the effects were just goofy. Like we mentioned earlier, the use of like it wasn't set in the future, but this one forensics lab had sets of like lasers that can bore through the fucking like center of the earth to like just in case they needed to unlock a fucking lock. Like what? Like it was just a lock on a bucket. The fuck you need a fucking space laser?
Who the fuck locks their bucket? First of all.
Oh man. Yeah, I'm gonna stop there because I can go on and on. I'm sure we all have our own points to hit, but man, this movie was just filled with things that just made no fucking sense.
Dr. Bob, What are some things that just didn't quite work in this movie?
Speaking of things that make absolutely no sense, every piece of medical, whatever they tried to throw in there medically, wrong. All of it was wrong. When they jabbed the syringes into that girl's neck, first of all, those arteries go up to your brain, not your heart.
Ooh.
So her brain would have been melted, not her fucking heart, and we wouldn't have got to see her tits. That's probably why they said it so that, it just goes down to her heart, so let's cut open her chest and show dead people boobs. That's not how that works.
Thank God the boobs didn't get melted.
Yeah, you know what? Come on, everything else should have melted. Secondly, you don't put a tourniquet below the knee. Like, your femoral artery is like way up by your balls. You don't want it down below your knee, because then you're just going to bleed out faster. That guy should have been dead like 6 minutes after all that happened. So that makes no sense. Instead of making it all the way to the fucking end and then dying alone. So fucking dumb. So dumb.
He was the last person to die. Just mind you that he survived longer than everybody.
Yeah.
And
he should have been dead 6 minutes after he got his fucking leg cut off, and the stupid chick tried to wrap a tourniquet around his fucking stump. 2.5 low.
Well, I mean, she was all. To be fair, she was only used to smothering babies, so.
I got some transferable skills here.
Oh my god.
Let me defend the baby killer for a second.
Oh my god. And like,
yeah, really quick though. No, let's discuss this fucking baby death. Because in what world do you accidentally roll over onto your babies and then the cops come into your house and arrest you for fucking like second-degree baby murder? Like they just dragged them out.
No, I don't think he got arrested. I think he just like went insane. Like the cops were just.
They were cops though. They had on fucking suits.
Yeah, I think they were like helping him out because he was like distraught.
No, it was unclear. We don't know exactly what that was. Let's be honest.
They could have been male strippers for all we know. They could have been like,
Hot cops.
Is somebody acting a fool over here? It's getting a little hot in this apartment.
Again, that would have been more entertaining.
I thought she called the cops to have the baby taken away.
I
Possible, but even if she did, why did they fucking arrest him?
Just don't know.
The baby police. It would have been better if they were babies dressed as police.
You're just
We
making
protect our own. You smothered our own. They got little
Second-degree
baby
baby slaughter.
Oh man.
Does anyone else realize that like they use the same exact cassette tape player for every single track? Like there was a fucking bargain flash sale at Target, and they just
when
bought
Radio Shack was going out of business.
Right,
they just
right.
stacked up.
hundreds of the same cassette players. Yeah, what am I going to do with all the? Oh, I can make traps and kill people with all these. Maybe that's how this all started.
Yeah, it was like Tobin Bell was walking around and an independent private investigation agency was having a fucking yard sale. And he was like, I'll just take this box of fucking 1978 recorders, cassette recorders.
Yeah, Jigsaw's estate is just like, and I bequeath this 1,000-gallon drum of mini tapes to Jigsaw Jr. that I never got to use.
Oh, and like they're talking about how the emo mortician, apparently she has her own apartment, and she apparently has a torture porn replica studio. If you just graduated from medical school 6 months ago, you are $400,000 in debt. You are not affording any of that. What are you, fucking crazy? No.
Bro, you're telling me that after leaving med school, you don't have a secondary domicile that's an entire fucking level of a warehouse?
No, I don't. I don't. Unfortunately, I am now, let's see. I'm on the first floor of my parents' house still trying to pay off student loans. That's how this is going to play out for the next couple of years. No, I'm not going to go buy a fucking studio to replicate torture porn scenes. No, that's not how any of that shit works. I don't know. There was so much wrong with this movie. There was so much wrong with this movie. Holy shit. None of it made sense to me. None of it made. I don't understand how they could try to have any continuity between any of the previous films and then try to reboot. Like, in this generation of remasters, reboots, and remakes, how can you try to get something... Like, this is only 7 years old. Like, 7 years in between films. How can you try to re-jump into this again? Like, when they're trying to reboot, like, Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. and all the Dark Universe films like The Mummy, which I'll never watch that shit because if it doesn't have Brendan Fraser, I'm not seeing it.
Poor guy, the
Doesn't
Mummy.
exist.
Hashtag.
But how can you try to reboot Saw if it's only 10 years old? It's like what they're trying to do with Resident Evil right now. Like the whole Resident Evil video game franchise got a reboot and it worked. Good on you, Capcom. But now they're trying to reboot the movie franchise too with another like 7 more movies.
Damn.
Just stop. Just make it end.
But these things are making money. So like I said, my theater today was packed. I didn't pay for my ticket. I fortunately had a gift certificate from a previous venture that went wrong. But like even then, I was still pissed that I spent the time. Period. This place was filled almost every seat with people just really excited to see Saw 8.
Yeah, some of the people in our theater were actually excited too. Some of the people when we got up and left were like, "That was terrific. That was amazing." And
Those people are actual serial killers.
They got a big legal pad
Subtle
and jotting down
nuances
notes.
of Jigsaw.
Oh, so like a
that two
Oh,
like the
it's a
5-year-old
time skip.
kids that
Okay.
came down behind us. They have a great way to start their serial killer career early.
Right.
Dude, no joke. 2 people in my theater clapped when that movie ended, and I thought it was a joke until they stood up and I saw that they were wearing Jigsaw masks, and I was like, yeah, you're a fucking psycho. You're those.
Did the masks not have any eye holes? Did they not actually have to watch this movie?
Also, what are they doing?
Did they go to the ICP concert afterwards?
What are they doing seeing it on a Sunday? Bigger fans would watch it Wednesday night, Thursday night. That doesn't make any sense. Also, people that clap at the end of movies are psychopaths in general. I don't care if you just saw The Godfather. You don't clap at a movie.
That's like those motherfuckers who clap at the end of a goddamn flight. Like, it isn't the 17 millionth flight that we've had in modern human history.
Yeah.
But you're gonna fucking slap your meaty hands together because you're excited we touched the ground. Fuck you. I'm showing how to plane mid-flight.
Unless, like, a pug landed the plane. Like, unless, like, literally, like, we're trying to have, like, a conscious dog land this plane just to see if it works. I'd clap if that happened.
No, wait. What if these people were watching Jigsaw as the in-flight movie and clapped when it ended?
Crash it. Right into a mountain. Right into a fucking mountain.
I'll fall on that grenade. Those people shouldn't reproduce. Let's get them out of there.
What if they go through their, like, lives and they just have, like...
The flight, what movie they want to watch, and every unanimous Jigsaw. If I were the pilot, diving it into a mountainside.
I would rather watch Batman vs Superman on a plane than fucking Jigsaw on a plane.
I want to watch Batman
Well,
vs.
at least with
Superman.
that movie you wouldn't even have to see all of it. That movie was so freaking long that the plane's probably landed. You probably fly from here to China before that stupid movie ended.
I'd rather just pull out my own device and just go to Pornhub while I'm playing than watch
Wait, I was
Jigsaw
like, pulling
again.
out your device on a plane, you gotta be careful. We'll throw you off for that.
You know, both devices.
Dr. Bob, do you have any other criticisms? Because we got off on a crazy tangent here.
Yeah, please stop the rest of it. Just stop it now while we're ahead. Just listen to the podcast, hear what we're saying about this, and just fucking cut the head off. Just bang. Push it into a ditch, leave it there, drive away, and go on with your lives. Film something else. Film anything else. There are too many good horror movies coming out right now. Too many good independent horror movies coming out right now. You don't need to waste your time on this movie.
Well, that's actually a good point. The reason why we saw Jigsaw in the first place was because it was fucking slim pickings this holiday season, quote-unquote holiday season, for horror films in theaters. I know there's a lot of good like indie stuff and smaller things out there, but I mean, it was like this versus like Happy Death Day.
And Snowman.
Which I heard was decent.
Oh, yeah?
Actually, one thing I noticed, shout out to Warren for mentioning the directors. I looked into them because I was like, those names seem familiar. And these guys actually worked on a film back in 2003. It was an Australian zombie horror comedy movie called Undead that's actually leaps and bounds better than Jigsaw. So I would recommend people go out and find Undead and watch that movie instead.
Let's toss it over to Abbott.
Oh, yeah.
Any new criticisms for Jigsaw?
Yeah, sort of leading into what I got into before, how it's kind of ridiculous that only 4 people were working this case. They're all like, oh, Jigsaw's back. It's been 10 years. Oh, this is such a big deal. But we're only going to put 4 people on the case. 2 of them are detectives. One's a hotshot asshole who doesn't really do a good job, but he's going to lead the case. Like, what the fuck? Like, how does that even make any sense? But then the one thing that stood out for me in the middle of the film is when they get Buckethead and they dig into his neck meat and they pull out the USB, which I don't know about you guys, but that's where I keep my USBs. The first thing they fucking do is they cut open the bag, toss the bag out like it's a fucking candy wrapper. It's like fingerprint that shit. Do something. That's evidence too. Like, who the fuck touched that? Like, do something with that. And then they just put it into a computer. Oh, okay, no big deal. Listen to the recording, and then they're like, get this to voice analysis. It's like, no, get that to the finger, get that anywhere else. Like, and then once the voice analysis thing is like brought up, it's never brought back. It's never like, oh yeah, that was actually Jigsaw's voice. It never comes back up later in the movie, except for the fact when they show that he did actually cut together a bunch of like old voice clips. Because then at that point they might have known, oh, they were old voice clips, but it's never addressed. But just the fact that they're just like, yeah, let's not test this for anything else. It just came out of a dude. That's fine.
He probably used the same computer too to cut that.
Well, who knows? Maybe that guy was born with a USB stick in his neck.
Yo, I also love how like they find the USB stick and the guy just goes, "You got something we can stick this in?" Like, you don't know the fucking word laptop? Fuck you. And then they just put it in a laptop without any consideration on how that might affect the device. And pull up fucking Windows Media Player.
It's like, oh hey.
Great if it was just a Rickroll video on the USB stick.
Another way to make it more entertaining.
Oh man, that would have been more believable. Jigsaw's from Reddit.
Anything else, Abbott?
And I think I mentioned to you guys before, but I think as far as schlocky horror movies go, besides the dead boobs we saw, I think there should have been at least one more boob, if not two more boobs. Would have been anything. It would have made the movie a little bit more enjoyable. Yeah, I would have felt like the money I paid for that movie was, spent on boobs.
You know, there's the internet, right?
What? 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 No, I'm Amish. I don't use those technologies. But yeah, those are my criticisms.
Let's toss it over to the mouth of the South, Bryland. Do you have any other? I feel like I don't even want to ask you this question.
Yeah, I'll share some interesting anecdotes from this movie that are terrible. Like, first off, this guy that plays Logan, wherever they found him, in a gutter somewhere or something at a meth rehab clinic, he is bad. He's the worst thing I've ever seen. Like, Tommy Wiseau is probably a better actor than this dude. And in fact, Tommy Wiseau would have been a better casting choice to take over Jigsaw's place if that's what this is all about.
Do you want to play a game, Mark? I would watch that. Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, it's a movie that took itself so seriously that the ridiculousness of everything set up, did not play over really well. I mean, this movie was like watching a porn parody of there's an actual Jigsaw movie that was created somewhere. This is the porn parody, and they took out all the porn in it. And you're just getting those interstitial, like, story moments. Like, you looked at the, like, sets and everything, you're just like, They rented out someone's house for that. Or this is someone's living room is like the morgue or something. It was terrible.
This movie is made 2.5 times its budget back. This movie was made for $10 million.
And it shows.
It's already made $20 million?
It's made $25 million. At least
amazing.
Wikipedia.
That's why these fucking films keep popping up. Like, they do make money. People go see them.
Crap.
It
got catfished by Jigsaw.
like $10 million is dirt cheap. That's like a Hollywood Studios weekend out. That's like their Coke budget was probably $5 million on that. Like, that's they need to drink something.
Oh, Coca-Cola.
Yeah. They don't like Pepsi.
They're butt chugging it though, right?
Of course.
Yeah. So just to put that number into perspective. The film Sharknado had a budget of $2 million. So this was just 5 Sharknados in one film in terms of budget.
I would rather watch 5 Sharknados. I would rather watch Sharknado 1, 2, and 3 in rotation, and then I would have 2 left over. I would just have one. Yeah, fuck it. 1 left over.
Oh, man. I don't know how you ask someone for $2 million to film a movie called Sharknado and not get slapped in the mouth immediately.
But I would say probably the most ridiculous scene in this movie was when they had the 3 syringes to choose from, and then the girl automatically tells them, like, oh, $3.53 is what a life meant to me and stuff. And that dude takes all 3 syringes, starts, like, jabbing at her with them and saying, choose one.
Yeah, he went straight up Wolverine.
Yeah, like, this guy just went up straight and was like, no, I'm going to kill her. Fuck it. Don't let her choose. Just stab her. Just try to stab her. And it lasted for, like, 5 minutes. Even after she figured out the answer, he's like, choose one, and he's slashing at her, and she's going, no, I don't know what to choose. I'm like, you just said it. Choose the fucking right one. You're not going to die.
You know, I love, too, the fact that, so she gets stabbed in the neck, right? And she gets injected with 3 different things. One of them is fucking acid, and so she burns to death or whatever. Later on, when they bring her body into the forensics lab, the guy pulls a sheet over her head and goes, yep, looks like fucking acid, like, or whatever type of hydrochloric acid. And it's like, okay, first of all, like, when was the last time that you saw somebody whose body was burned from the inside out with acid? Like, that does not look like a fucking, like, normal acid attack. And then they came up with a shit about him being from, like, being in Fallujah. And
he was like, yeah, that shit from Fallujah was hilarious.
What does that have to? Literally, what the fuck does that have to do with anything?
Oh, I know acid attacks. I was in Fallujah. Yeah, okay. So maybe someone got splashed with acid in front of you, not burned out from, like, the inside.
Oh my!
But he was in Fallujah, so he knows. And oh my god, this movie just hurt. I mean, I'll leave it to Mike to talk about the music because he's the music maestro. But there's some bad guitar riffs going on in the background of this movie.
I legit didn't even notice it. It made. You could talk away. I had no idea.
Yeah, I mean, it just sounded like the cheesiest. Like, if you ever played any of those full motion video games in the 90s and stuff, where it's like choose your own adventure, this felt like one of those, but I couldn't choose to get the hell out of it.
So I'll toss it over to the Shredder. You got any other ones?
No, except for like one thing. I thought that it was kind of just vindictive for the last guy with Hallahan or whatever. Like, he didn't have a choice. And one of the big things about these movies is there's always a choice, like always a way to win. And this guy just never had any chance. And in fact, the new Jigsaw explained on how how foolproof his plan was to get away. And it seems like with the original movies, like there was never like an escape. Like, oh, this is twirling my mustache, and this is how I'm going to get away and evade all the cops. Like, that didn't even come into play. Where I don't know. I kind of like that. That was, to me, what separated this from other torture porn things where, like, something with Hostel is they had to beat their way physically out of the situation. Whereas, like, with Saw, you could, like, think. Or the best one was, like, you could literally, without knowing what it was, you saw the key go down the drain hole as the first shot of the movie. And then it comes into play way back later of like, oh my god, that was the key that like would have unlocked it. And then we saw him die in the first scene of the movie, quote unquote. That didn't resonate well with me. But
Yeah.
yeah, but everything else, characters were super archetypal. Like, weird girl was weird, hothead guy was a hothead, dumb, like, aggressive Irish detective was an aggressive Irish detective. It was all just, like, it was exactly who, what was it, the, Dennis Green, the football coach, rest in peace. He's that famous press card, they are who we thought they are. Like, there was literally no change in character dynamic.
Did his brain die?
Yeah, like 2 years ago.
Oh, man.
He had, like, a heart condition or something.
Yeah, I think that was, like, one of the worst things about the film for me was the fact that, like, at the very least, you have all these archetypal characters, and you've got the main protagonist, obviously the main protagonist, who's the only one who, for whatever reason, has the composure to wake up from a coma and be getting, like, dragged by her neck towards buzzsaws, and have listened to all the fine details of this muffled up, like, fucking speaker telling her, oh, you need to, like, shed some blood, and her having that revelation. And I feel like every single scene they went into, she was like, oh, it's a game, let me just think it out. Oh, it's a game, let's follow the rules. Until the very end, where, like you guys said earlier, he fucking holds up the shotgun shell and says, "The literal key is inside this shotgun shell. I'm gonna put in this gun. The key's right there." And then she's the one who's like, "Well, the only thing I can do is shoot you in the face." It was just like this like crazy amount of inconsistency right there at the end, just for the sake of having it happen. At least all the other archetypes stayed who they were the entire time.
You could have made that a powerful moment if this was better written and directed, where like you could have shown her slow descent into insanity, that she is cool and calm and rational through the whole movie, and then Jigsaw's puzzles and traps slowly break down her humanity, that she gets to a point where it's the only thing she can see is violence. That would be if this was a competent movie.
Yeah.
But it's not, so it wasn't.
Yeah, and did she say some shit about, she said to Jigsaw, "You know me." And like, was there like supposed to be some past history from a previous movie?
No, they're neighbors.
No, they were literal neighbors. They were literal neighbors.
They were neighbors.
Yeah.
That was right.
Like that's it. He was like, I used to watch you step out of the shower every morning.
Yo, yeah, shout out to Jigsaw for hearing her scream at the baby and then correctly jumping fucking 50 yards to the conclusion that she smothered the baby and then hid it underneath the body of her sleeping husband.
I know. What?
Like, out of nowhere.
This is a guy battling cancer right now, and he's just. Oh wait, what was that? Oh, that's a woman in distress. She definitely just killed her child.
Yep.
I'm gonna go investigate. But wait, I'm not actually gonna investigate. I know for a fact it already happened.
Maybe in the deleted
I had a
scenes,
nickel for every time I heard a baby get smothered.
maybe in the deleted scenes, like Jigsaw heard her scream at the baby, and then she smothered it, and then she grabs the baby and starts screaming, "Oh my god, I smothered my baby! What am I gonna do? Oh, I know, I'll hide under my husband."
And she's on a PA system while that happened.
All they needed to do was a very split screen scene where it's just him outside of a window watching her do it.
Yeah.
And there you go. There's your hard evidence. You know for a fact that she did this, but wait, no, that never happened. You were across the street.
Yeah.
Well, I think the real crime is that he assumed that she smothered the baby with a pillow, and it wasn't like, like a French fry situation where the baby was smothered with like cheese and chili and
Great
stuff.
Great word association right there. Great word association.
No, man, I'm sure she did it in the toilet.
Did what?
An extra long baptism ceremony.
Oh, God.
Talk, you son of a bitch. That's technically drowning if you smother someone with water.
the technical term.
All right, listen, Bob is the doctor here. Now you have it.
That's true. I'm going to stay in my lane over here. It's not a swim lane, clearly.
So the only things that I will add in regards to criticisms would be, it was pretty planned out that Mitch had to die at that moment, and the girl who got randomly poisoned they were going to get past the first sequence. As I think about it, I'm like, okay, well, the girl who was poisoned had to get past the first puzzle because she needed the antidote, and Mitch had to do that because that task was specifically for Mitch, the human blender.
Yeah.
And
Swirly of Doom.
Like,
that would be a cool nickname.
The human blender. I mean, it could be.
Doom Swirly.
It's going to be on season 2 of Tick.
There's just I'm not going to retread anything that people already said. It's too much. There's just too much for this movie.
No, but you bring up a really good point. Like, that's all assumption based. Like, oh yeah, this person's going to die here, this person's going to die here. I'm going to lay this out strategically in that order, that this person dies, that person dies.
Yeah.
What if they didn't? Like, what?
Yeah. Like, I can see, like, if there was, like, traps and stuff set up, but his name was literally on the recorder, and I'm like, if that wasn't Mitch, then what? And she even stops the motorcycle bike that somehow sped up so quickly to make that human blender go.
Yeah.
And then it stops, and he's like, oh, I'm safe, so I'm not going to go and reach for this brake anymore. And then it starts back up, and I'm like...
Also, did anybody else did anybody else get like a South Park vibe from that blender scene? Because when it restarts up, it just cuts to him. He's just going. Ridiculous noise while he gets chopped up.
It reminded me of that one Simpsons Treehouse of Horror where the Swedish kid gets kicked into the giant thing and then they turn all the kids into sloppy joes.
Oh yeah. We also need to talk about the special effects department because when that dude's body fell down from the fucking ceiling and was hanging by its ankles, I guarantee you the head was just a spiral ham. I'm like, it was like there for like 30 like for 5 seconds. I'm sure it was just a straight up spiral ham and nothing else.
It looks like a crash test dummy covered in lunch meat.
Yeah, seriously, it didn't look real at all. It looked like a plastic or rubber figure.
A real doll. It was a real doll.
I feel like they shied way too far away from all that gore, though.
Yeah.
Just show the guy getting devoured by a blender instead of, like, it pooping him out at the end.
Yeah. Like, they even cut away from when supposedly Logan got buzzsawed into the saws in the first room.
But that was so that you didn't see him survive. You were supposed to assume that he got chopped up. But even with that, too, all right, let's start off with that first fucking trap. So the whole thing was that you had to bleed in order for the blades to stop. There was no reason for anyone to panic then, because as we saw, everyone's just going to touch the fucking blades anyway. It's like a built-in safety mechanism. Right?
Well,
yeah,
Mocha.
they did some dumb things about how they touch the blades. One was like, "Oh, let me put my forearm where my veins and arteries are at."
That's serious, medically accurate. Ass, just butt cheek, little butt cheek.
I would have bent over.
That's I was thinking the whole time. Like, if that's me, I'm gonna drop trowel real quick. I'm just gonna gently tap my ass cheek against this, and I'm good.
No, well, Mocha, that might be how they got around the whole, like, people dying in a certain order, right? So if it immediately stops when there's blood, that means everyone gets through the first test. And then the second test is the poison chick. So that means that, like, what's it called? She's the only one that's really in trouble there because worst comes to worst, you just jab her and she explodes, and then everyone, comes down from hanging. And then the third one
was Mitch.
Yeah, I guess Mitch could have died in he could have fallen through the floor or he could have got stuck in the grain. So that one's a little hard. But
yeah, drown in fucking grain, like in Bob, was it like The Mummy 2 where that dude gets trapped in the pyramid that gets filled with sand?
Yeah, well, I think it happens in both of them.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean that's fucking horrifying.
Yeah, there's a desert. There's a lot of sand.
Oh man.
So let's talk about. The one thing also that didn't make any sense was the guy who was beheaded. Apparently, they were talking about as if the buzzsaw chopped his head off, but then he still had the bucket head on his head.
Yes.
So
replacement bucket.
Bucket cut off.
Stunt bucket.
Yeah, but wasn't that supposed to be the mortician?
That was supposed to be Logan, yeah.
Yeah, but it was supposed to be, but we saw him get his back cut. So that bucket
that's right. Yeah, that was just someone else's body. Yeah, that they put in there. Who was that man?
What is his story? I want to know what happened to him. What did he do to deserve this?
You have to watch the follow-up film, The Man Without a Face, starring Mel Gibson.
Or The Man in the Iron Mask, starring Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, both will do. It's fine. Choose your own adventure.
The Man in the Iron Bucket.
Guys, I think there are... Nope, I lied. I'm just kidding. Yeah, that's... I would say let's get into some lasting thoughts and grades. As we go round table, let's talk about Jigsaw. I'm going to start with Mocha, and what will be your grades from Jigsaw?
Yeah, I initially wanted to go a little bit easier on this film, but I can't. This is just a straight up D. Not quite enough, but it is a D. Saw is about gore porn punctuated by a plot twist. That's what the whole series is about, and that's definitely what this movie is. It's just disappointingly cookie cutter. It does those things in the safest possible way it can for a franchise that's pushed some boundaries in the past, and that's pretty unforgivable from my point of view. It may actually work as a jumping off point for some young moviegoers who are unfamiliar with the earlier installments, but otherwise, it has inspired zero hope in me for the future of what this franchise can be.
Fisher Price is my first
the
choice.
The 5-year-olds we saw in the movie theater.
Yeah, they dug it up.
Goers.
They ate it up, yeah. But yeah, it's going to be a D.
Dr. Bob, you agreed?
Oh, so is this like an A to F scale?
Yep.
Yeah.
Hard F.
Hard F.
Hard F. Cut it off. Just bang. Take the head off. Let the series die. Just move on to something new. We need more original content. Make something new. Make a new torture porn series. Don't rebrand a former one. Just new plot, new characters, new designs. Start new. Burn the fucking crops. Plant something new.
Smother it with water.
Right?
Yeah, smother it with water. AKA
Salt fields.
Abbott, grades.
I gave it a C- because I do appreciate human blenders when I get the chance. Just in general. Tobin Bell was still great and creepy as Jigsaw, so that was his monologue was really great, and he was looking pretty good, keeping it up as it were. And then, I do see a future for this franchise in that whenever other horror movie franchises got to like 7, 8, 9 movies, they started doing wacky shit. So like I was thinking about like what wacky shit could the Saw franchise do, and I'm like, yeah, sure, Saw versus Jackie Chan would be kind of cool. Really cool. But like in reality, like I would love to see a movie like Saw versus Hellraiser. Like I think that would be a really cool. I don't know how it would work, but it could be really like over the top, gory, crazy. I'd watch that movie probably 10 times.
I just got this really clear image of Jackie Chan in the reverse bear trap going, bad day, bad day, bad day.
Yeah, they should make that one too. It should just become like a Saw versus.
Well, you could do like Jigsaw in Hell, and just make everyone dead, and like you could bring back like historical serial killers that he like messes with.
Oh, that'd be cool. That's a good idea.
Oh, Jigsaw in
I think
time.
there's things that they could do here instead of rehashing the same old shit. I think they could
Jigsaw through time. He just goes in.
Nah, dude, that pasty motherfucker would get his ass handed to him immediately.
We're all gonna fucking wake up in a meat locker tomorrow, like chained to a wall, and it's just gonna be Down in Front podcast versus Jigsaw, and we're all gonna be screwed. One of us is gonna be wearing a mascot costume.
It's definitely gonna be Dom. That's the Jigsaw. He heard our fucking jokes about being a vampire earlier. He's gonna fucking eat each of us and put us in a trap.
Yeah, but like the thing is, he can't actually kill me because I'm the only other person that contributes. We're gonna end that, right?
Not another gaming monologue starring Don Mahoney and the Ghost of Crispy.
Oh fuck.
Brylan, your grade?
Yeah, this is straight up F.
Yeah.
And it's this is the first Saw movie I've seen. It'll more likely be the last, especially if this Logan guy is going to be the Jigsaw going forward. His monologue at the end is like absolutely one of the worst like bad guy reveals ever. And even when he's talking about how he's a broken man after Fallujah, I just laughed at that line when he said it. It was ridiculous.
This film was the franchise's Benghazi.
Release the emails. Get the emails.
Are you telling me I'm gonna have to submit the thank you letter I got as evidence?
Blewett.
Yeah, I give this a C-. I'm kind of on the same board with Andrew, where it was these movies, like there's a hard cap at like a B. Like I feel like most of these slasher type things is like they're not good films in any regard that like you can go through and be like, that was the greatest thing ever. I'm gonna watch the next one when it comes out. It should get Academy Awards. Like they just can't be that good by design. I still thought it had enough interesting moments to not fail it. That being said, there was like literally nothing special about this.
All right. I had a D plus. I'm just gonna go down to a D minus. I thought it was interesting for the whole time skip. That was interesting, but that's about it. I just think the poor execution. There's a lot of poor things. Even the guy's hand in the beginning of the movie like exploded from gunshots. I thought I was like that's where they have some pretty good aim there. It just wasn't very good.
Oh yeah,
Again, Medically, that's not how that works.
Yo, real quick.
I was just set up with a sniper rifle across the street. Like, what the fuck is that?
Did anyone else crack the fuck up when they showed Jigsaw fucking murk the dude with the sniper rifle and like fold it up and walk off? Like, who are you?
It's Saw. Jigsaw.
And with that, we are the Down in Front podcast. I want to say thank you so much for our Fear Boners special Halloween episode. Thank you so much for Dr. Bob. Thank you for everybody's kind of coming. Dr. Bob, I'm going to toss it to you first and says, where can we find more of your work?
You can check us out at wickedgoodgaming.com for all of our articles. You know, they come up semi-frequently. We're busy people. It happens sometimes. We get around to it. So you can check us out at wickedgoodgaming.com, at wickedgoodgames on Twitter, and then at wickedgoodgaming and anything else, Instagram, Facebook, datafarmer.com, Jigsaw Rules / Reddit B / datingapplications.com. And you can subscribe to our podcast, the Not Another Gaming Podcast, where we talk about video games sometimes, not often, but occasionally. We talk about things. Sometimes it's gaming, sometimes it's not. But yeah. And thank you guys for having me. This is a lot of fun. I wish I could get my $20 back, but that's doubtful.
The $20 was the cost of admission to chill with us, so.
Yeah,
That's just at least $20 worth of friendship that we just had tonight.
Well, on that note, well worth it.
Yeah, aw.
Paid double.
Well, as always, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. I'm super pumped to get you back on this show. I'm excited, and thank you so much for coming. Of course, we have the host of the Fear Boners.
You can feel boners. That's fine.
Real boners.
You could feel fear boner.
Valentine's Day.
Trademarking that. Abbott, where can you find more of your work?
Yeah, on the internet for the most part, I am the Abs Man. So if you Google that, not the Ass Man, it'll try to get you to Google the Ass Man, but it's the Abs Man, ABBS. I'm pretty much all over the internet on that. You can go back and listen to more Fear Boners. I want to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to put those episodes together this month. It was a lot of fun. This was great, so thanks so much. I'm out there doing my thing, and maybe you'll do some more in the future. So yeah, thanks.
Yeah, no problem at all. Toss it over to Mocha. Where can you find more of your work?
Yes, so you can find me tweeting about various holiday-related things for Halloween at Mocha Mike LI, as the Lord intended. Unfortunately, you cannot find me at Mocha Mike because the gentleman who has that Twitter handle, much like Jigsaw, was last active 10 years ago and is somehow torturing me today. So you can't get me there. But at Mocha Mike LI.
It was fun. Well done. That was good.
For Instagram, check out some of my photography work, instagram.com/MochaMike, and then you can see some long-form reviews of movies as well as some other articles at my Medium, medium.com/@MochaMike.
Cool. Toss it over to the mouth of the South, Brylan. Where can you find more of your work?
You can find me making sinners confess on Twitter. It's at Brylan, BRILUND. I'm also the host of the Gamescast at twitch.tv/DownFromPodcast. Right now, I'm going through the storyline of Destiny. I think I'm got 1/3 left to go. We'll see how the end game plays after that. And I'm also on Instagram. We'll put up some mini movie reviews. It's I am Brylan.
All right. And then Mike the Shredder Blue. Where can you find more of your work? And you have a show coming up.
Oh, what? Yeah, it's probably over by the time this thing gets released. But yeah, we're playing last 2 nights ago. When this gets released, check us out at My News Music or My News Band on most major platforms. We should have some recorded material coming out soon, as well as other things. You can check. I know he's not here, but obviously our esteemed colleague Jesse Rand. He just started a new Pornhub channel, Jesse Rand's Confessions. So you can hit him up at confesstomeDaddy@ymail.com. But check him out there.
You can also see his signature move, the reverse bear trap.
I'm so excited for that.
It goes down smooth like a syringe full of acid.
It's great. He doesn't even know this is happening. I told him about it at work. I was like, hey man, when's the last time you listened to this? They're like, you haven't been on. And he's like, I'm busy. And so I'm like, you realize what we do at the end of every single one? He's like, stop it. Truthfully, I don't even care about growing the brand as like a brand. I care about getting more people listening to this just to have more people look down on Jesse Rand. That's it. That's it.
The ultimate solve.
Oh, it's great.
And we are the Down in Front podcast. We are on the internet, the interwebs. Definitely rate us on iTunes. That would be amazing. So we have a Facebook, we have a Twitter, we have an email, we have a Patreon. So find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Down in Front podcast. You can find us on Twitter at _DIFP. That's at the _DIFP. As well as we have a Patreon. So if you like what we do, and just for $1 a month, that's the Arizona Sweet Tea, apparently the energy boosting version of it. I heard it was good. I'm not sure. I typically like the sweet tea version, but who knows? But just for even $1, definitely go ahead and support us as well. That's patreon.com/Down in Front podcast.
Yeah, we need to make our money back on this movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So wait, are these donations going to my $20 that I dropped in this?
The first $20 you donate will save a struggling med.
Our next 5 $10 and up monthly subscribers will be able to pay back Dr. Bob.
We're gonna send them like weekly updates of Bob's like status, send pictures. Like it's one of those fucking like adopt the kids.
It's gonna be like one of those Series Kids marathons where we have like the temperature rising for how much we got the $20 back for them.
Handwritten letters and crayon. Thank you.
Yeah, we have an email, so downinfrontpodcast@gmail.com. And then definitely check out a bunch of our work. We have our YouTube channel that we're going to put in the show notes. Thank you so much. And with that, we will say good night and see you soon for our next review of Thor Ragnarok. So let's get
And Stranger Things.
Bye.
Bye.